If I told you half the things I've heard about this Jabba the Hutt, you'd probably shoot me.
Right here, Jabba. Been waiting for you.
Hello, Star Wars fans, and welcome to episode 29 of Blabba the Hutt.
The illustrious Jabba bids you welcome and will gladly pay you the reward of 25,000.
So the only thing that you can tell me is that I will find Jabba at Jabba's palace.
I'm your host, Kate, and by now you probably noticed I'm flying solo this episode. So I'll try to do this episode the best I can without our illustrious leader, Jamie, but you guys will hear from him soon enough. Actually, in this episode, you'll hear a couple interviews he did at Star Wars Celebration, and then we hope to be back to our regularly scheduled programming soon. Are you guys excited for Rogue One? As I record this, it's just weeks away, and so I thought before we get into all of the Rogue One madness, I would go through a lot of the recorded material that I have and give you guys some of the different interviews and events I've done the last couple months, going back even to Star Wars Celebration. So one of the really cool things I got to do in London before Celebration even started was Cantina, which was the night before. You heard the guys on the show talking about Cantina, so got to meet them, got to meet some really awesome people, and of course the amazing music. We got to hear Darth Elvis, Blues Harvester, and of course Ash. So that was an amazing night, and we had our Blabba VIP passes, and we got to do a little bit of bowling that night, and I drank some blue milk, which was delicious. And one of the really cool people I got to interview that night was Artie Shaw. Okay, so Artie Shaw, she is an actress, creature performer, mocap performer, corporate model, and motivational and professional speaker. That's her description from her website, but Star Wars fans probably know her as the mocap for Maz Kanata. Yep, that's right, I got to talk to Maz Kanata at Cantina, so that was pretty amazing, and she was so nice. Okay, so we have a lot to get to in this episode, so instead of me rambling on, let's get to the show. Punch it, Chewie. So I'm here with Artie Shaw. How's it going, Artie?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. We're here at Cantina the night before Star Wars Celebration in Europe. How excited are you?
I'm so excited.
Is this your first celebration?
It is.
Yeah?
And it's in
Awesome.
London.
I know. Is that your hometown?
It is.
Awesome. That's so cool. All right, so let's talk Star Wars.
Why not?
How has your last year been? Has it just been totally insane?
It's been phenomenal. The whole
That's
experience.
crazy. Yeah.
It's like a dream come true.
That's awesome.
I've got no words. I can't even speak because
So let's go ahead and tell people like what roles you played in Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Okay, so The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I was so fortunate and humbled to have been the motion capture double for Maz Kanata,
Awesome.
working alongside Lupita Nyong'o,
That's so cool.
Oscar-winning
Did you meet her?
actress. I did. I worked with her.
Oh,
She was
man.
so amazing,
That's
so cool.
I know, she seems awesome.
And then
That's
I was a puppeteer playing a couple of creatures,
Nice.
as well as a gonk droid,
Awesome.
the legendary gonk droids
Yeah.
that you see.
So have you always been a Star Wars fan?
I have, as growing
Yeah.
up as a child,
Awesome.
with my family watching it on TV, cinema.
So how has being a part of like the Star Wars family changed your life?
It's like being part of another family. No, seriously, I've met so many amazing people that I can call on as being friends, deep down, really good friends. It feels like when you walk onto a set after a long time, after finishing, the last few days on episode 7, and you walk on and, you've not been on there for a few days, you go back, you see everyone again, and you're like, oh my God, we're just picking up from where we left off. It's so
That's
cool.
crazy. So, do you have any plans for like episode 8, or can you tell us anything about like future plans?
I've got
Anything
lots
like
of
that?
plans, but you have to wait and see.
We have to wait and see.
Like, I'm getting married. That's another plan.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
When's the big day?
So September and April, we've got 2 weddings.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Yeah.
Are you going to get married here in London? Or-
We are.
Yeah. For both of them?
Yes.
Yeah?
We were going to do one away, but
Oh, okay.
we're doing both in London.
Okay, very nice. Cool. Do you have any final words about Star Wars? I know, that's like a loaded question.
As well as so many other people that have worked on the films, that we're just so grateful to be part of it.
Yeah.
And especially for fans of the films, like we are fans of the films.
Yeah.
And like myself, I try to forget when I've been filming, so when I go see the film, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But, you know, and for people like yourself, thank you for being who you are.
Oh, you're welcome.
We appreciate you.
Are you looking forward to a celebration?
I am.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
It's gonna be
I
crazy.
really can't wait.
Do you have like a little photo thing and autographs and all that?
I'm going in fancy dress.
Oh yeah? Are you
Yes.
gonna dress as Maz Kanata?
You'll have to wait and see.
Because I'm dressing as Maz. My name's Kate, and I dressed as Maz Kate Nata.
No way!
Yeah, I'll have to show you the picture.
You have
But
to.
yeah, I'll have to look you up. But maybe we'll be wearing the same costume on the same day.
Yeah.
We'll have to
I'll be
definitely
on
get-
stilts, so nobody will know it's me.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, if I don't
Yeah.
wear stilts, people will know, oh yeah, that's Artie. I'll
Yeah.
be on stilts.
Okay, good to know. Very cool. Do you have any tips for me, like when I cosplay as Maz Kanata?
Feel the force.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Thanks for talking to Blabba the Hutt. So one really cool thing we were invited to at Star Wars Celebration was the DK Authors event. So we got a really good opportunity to get up close and personal with some really, really awesome Star Wars authors. So in this next segment, you'll hear from Rod Gillis, Adam Bray, Cole Horton, Jason Fry, and Kemp Remillard. So I'll go ahead and play it.
So we're here at the DK event here with Rod Gillis, who has created probably a bit of a childhood dream of yours, the Build Your Own Build Your Own Adventure Lego Star Wars book. Welcome to the show, Rod.
Oh, thanks. Thanks very much for having me.
So you got to take two of the biggest things in the world and merge them together. When you got the call saying, hey Rod, we need you to do this kind of cool adventure book, it involves Lego and Star Wars, what went through your head?
It was just brilliant. It was like the Venn diagram of my geekery. It was the perfect joining in the middle. So, you know, I've been a Lego fan builder for years, and you know, and love Star Wars. I mean, who doesn't? So, just the opportunity to like recreate my own little versions of some classic vehicles, or take, you know, kids on a little trip to classic Star Wars planets, and it was just it's just brilliant, a dream come true. So
I think definitely in Ireland, definitely in England, and I know for sure in the US that like Lego is just, it's a staple of childhood memories and whatnot. Did you take that through into adulthood and continue to kind of build ships and whatnot, and then this was just the perfect merge of?
I built a lot when I was a kid, and then I stopped. We have in the Lego community, it's referred to as a dark age when I stopped. You know, I stopped building. You know, most people do. But then my son, who's now 18, but you know, back when he was about 6 or 7, started really getting back into Lego, and so I started buying some stuff, and then I got back into it and discovered the online kind of fan builder community, and never looked back. I've been you know, building ever since, and just absolutely love it. And then been lucky enough that the guys from DK got in touch and asked me if I would work on some of their books, and so I've been doing that for about 4 years now, working on the books as well as my regular kind of hobby building.
And have you built many of the actual Lego Star Wars line?
Yeah, a couple. I mean, I have to put my hand up and say I don't buy a lot of sets. Because I tend to build big stuff for shows and things, I buy a lot of individual bricks. Like I'll need 1,000 of that piece or 2,000 of that piece. So I don't buy a lot of sets. However, I must admit I've got fondness for the Millennium Falcon. I must have bought about 6 different versions of the Millennium Falcon set. So.
Have you ever taken a challenge of actually creating something like a to scale or to D2 or something like that with a set of bricks?
Never one-to-one, but I did. I have got one of my most popular models online. Actually, is a range of what I call manga scale. They're almost like about, so maybe Action Man size, like 8-9 inch figures, and I've basically got a lineup of figures from the classic trilogy. And when I take them to a show to display, they always attract loads of attention and stuff. So one-to-one, maybe one day I'll give that a go, but you know, you need a lot of bricks for that. So.
Taking it back to the book then,
yeah.
Obviously it's geared towards the younger generations. Do you think this is a good way that, I mean, Lego and Star Wars is now two, you know, massive entities that have collided, and gives an entry point for new people to get into Star Wars. Do you think this is a great way for kids to learn a little bit about the entry into the Star Wars galaxy?
Absolutely. It's a lovely little model that the Lego guys designed. The official model that's in the book is given away. It's it's not a complicated build, and yet it looks really smart when it's finished. And then the whole idea of the book is to inspire kids with. So there's instructions for the model in the giveaway, but the rest of the book isn't an instructions book. It's just an inspiration book. But a lot of the models are quite simple. We're just trying to get kids to use the bricks they've already got and inspire them to build cool stuff in the Star Wars universe. Because I think sometimes, particularly with big franchises like Star Wars or things, people build the kits and they're almost reluctant to take them to bits again and build something else. So what we've done is we've tried to make sure that the models in the book predominantly use bricks that come from Star Wars sets to encourage kids to be creative with the bricks they've already got.
And to understand how they can kind of take some from here, some from there, and maybe make something completely new. You were saying to me that this is a exclusive piece, is it? The
It
ship?
is. Yeah, the model is. So it's similar to the Microfighters range, but they've never done a Y-Wing in the Microfighters, so this is a Y-Wing Microfighter, and I just think it's super cool.
That's exciting that you got to work on such a awesome, like the first time a Y-Wing has come. I mean, Y-Wing is such a classic ship within the galaxy, and it's taken till 20, nearly 40 years later, and all of a sudden, hold on, we should make this out of Lego, and you're the guy to do it, or you're the guy to.
Yeah, I mean, they've made big ones. This is what they've not done is this little sort of chibi style one that's been out for a while.
Well, I mean, it looks great. It looks fantastic. The colours are fantastic, and I think it's definitely going to be a great way for kids to step into our universe and ultimately move on to a more expensive future.
Well, I just hope they enjoy the book because I had a great time putting it together.
That's awesome. It looks great, and thanks very much for coming to talk to us today.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I got author Adam Bray here. How's it going, Adam?
Hey, very good. I'm really enjoying it here. Just got out of the Rebels panel, and so a lot of awesome things
amazing,
revealed.
right?
Yeah,
Ron?
yeah, it was. Yeah, I think Rebels just overshadowed Rogue One.
Yeah, I might have.
Yeah.
Ron, it was pretty big.
Right. Yeah, and in that trailer, there were so many images flash really quick. I think when it finally goes online and people, I don't know if maybe it's online already. I'm sure.
I don't know what's happening over
Yeah, but when it goes online, there will be so much for people to pause and analyze.
Filoni was talking about that.
Yeah.
Like, even without having the screenshots.
Yeah.
Like that one guy, the question about Dash Rendar.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah, we saw a lot of ships.
Yeah.
And a lot of soldiers and droids and a lot of technology, and there's a lot of things that look new. There's a lot of things that had very familiar elements from possibly all over the Star Wars media and galaxy. So I think Rebels just got really, really exciting. And I noticed the production quality of what we saw got kicked up several notches. I mean, there were a lot of atmospheric effects and a lot of lighting and effects in the rendering that they've done that's more akin to the Clone Wars in the production quality level. And we saw space battles that are like the original trilogy.
Right.
Finally, we've got the really heavy, active battles with lots of things going on, ships from all directions. Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's talk about some of the Star Wars books that you've written. So do you want to just go ahead and tell us?
Sure. I'm starting to lose track, to be honest.
How many is it?
I think I'm maybe up to 6 or 7 that are currently published. I've got a couple readers, young readers, What Makes a Monster and Lego Star Wars Into Battle. Got Ultimate Star Wars, the encyclopedia, Star Wars Absolutely Everything You Need to Know, 2 Rebels visual guides, Lego Chronicles of the Force that just came out last month, I think. And then not Star Wars, but I've got a Marvel book, Marvel Absolutely Everything You Need to Know, that's coming out.
Disney umbrella.
Yeah. I love Disney, so
Awesome.
I'm anything they want to give me from Disney is cool with me.
Do you want to just tell us a little bit about the process, maybe like the research that you do and
Yeah.
that kind of thing?
It's really different with every book. Sometimes Lucasfilm and DK will get together and kind of decide what they want to do and come up with the outline, and then just come to us to kind of work with that and fill it all in. Other times they'll come with kind of a vague idea, and they'll ask me to write the outline and the synopsis, and then it goes back to Lucasfilm to get approved. But then generally, for my part, as the writer, usually I'm working 2 or 3 months or so on my end. So. If I can finish the whole book in that amount of time, then it'll be just me. But if I can't, then it gets split up into multiple authors. So like Ultimate Star Wars, and you get 4 writers. But actually, what we do as writers is just a very small part because they're very visually oriented.
Yeah.
So. The design team has to do a lot of work in layout and getting the right images, and I don't envy them that task.
So like with Ultimate Star Wars, I know, because I was at the event when you guys came to Tempe, Arizona last year, I think it was.
Yeah.
And you kind of talked about how each of you had different sections that you worked on. What was the section you worked on with that?
For Ultimate Star Wars, I worked on a lot of the Rebels stuff. And the original trilogy characters, and then a mix of a few of the technology and ships and locations. It was an interesting time to write a book like that, because Lucasfilm had just made their canon announcement about the reboot, and so I think it was kind of new publishing territory, new conditions. And a lot of my co-authors were very straightforward, with the material they covered. But I found a few gaps where things hadn't really been written about before. So I still got to invent a little bit of information. It's always fun. And when I do that, I try to be respectful of what's come before. So I look what other Star Wars creators have done, and try to draw that in, and that can be Legends material. That's fine.
Cool. Do you have a favorite Star Wars topic that you like to write about?
Definitely Rebels.
Yeah.
I feel, even though I had nothing to do with creating what you see in the show, I still feel very sentimentally attached to it because of working on the Rebels visual guides and the material for some of the other books, and getting to see the material early and interviewing the people on the production team. So I feel I'm very emotionally attached to all of that. So I feel like one of the show's biggest cheerleaders.
And is there anything in the works that you can tell us about?
Well, let's see. Got the Marvel book coming August 2nd. I have, trying to think, what can I say? I have some stuff coming for some other publishers, so to be fair to DK, I probably shouldn't say what they are. But I've got other stuff coming in the fall, and I've got stuff coming out next year. Yeah. And there will be other DK things next year too that I'll be able to talk about more later.
Okay, awesome. So do you want to tell people how they can follow you online?
Yeah, the best place to find me is on Twitter at author Adam Bray. And also I write periodically for StarWars.com, so you can find me there. I've got a website, adambray.com. It's more of a placeholder right now, but maybe someday when I have free time I can do some more with that.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for talking to Blabba the Hutt.
Sure, thank you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
So, Cole Horton, welcome to Blabba the Hutt.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be here.
How has your celebration been so far?
It's been crazy and it's been great.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it. I've managed to sneak into some really cool stuff. The Rogue One costume exhibit is amazing, and I could have spent a whole weekend in there. I did the ILM X Lab, Trials of Tatooine immersive experience.
I haven't done that yet, but I believe it is incredible.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Really, truly mind-blowing. I won't spoil it and like what you do, but it is everyone's fantasy, and you get to really live it, and you forget where you are.
Yeah,
and you really do think you're there. It was really fantastic. That was my surprise of the show. And then, just running around and seeing everyone. Artist Alley is great. I could spend way too much money in there, and I have to stop myself. The merchandise is awesome, and I don't want to buy any of that for fear that I'll go home with too many suitcases.
Yeah.
But no, it's really great.
So, we're here to talk about books, literature. We're at the DK author meet and greet. Star Wars, absolutely everything you need to know. It's the go-to guide nearly at this point. Actually, I've got one question before we start. How annoying is it that Star Wars keeps evolving and the book needs to... Or that's probably a great job for you. It's like edition 2, edition 3.
Oh, updates are always something I'm happy to do. I like that work. But no, Star Wars isn't stopping. If anything, it's just picking up. And when you name a book absolutely everything you need to know, that's a big promise, right? Like, and you kind of, in one way, you live up to that, because in that book we were really trying to come at it from a different angle. Like, that book was meant to be fun, and actually, that book is meant to be for a really wide audience. So many books are for really hardcore Star Wars fans. And this book is for them, because we tried to find new angles and new approaches to things, new facts. But it's also for people who maybe aren't as familiar with Star Wars. And, it was released as part of the journey to Star Wars The Force Awakens. It was there to help catch people up. And, I talked to so many fans, and, maybe they're fans of the original trilogy, but they hadn't seen the prequels, or they hadn't seen the Clone Wars or Rebels. Or, younger fans who have only seen the Clone Wars and Rebels. And everyone just kind of needed to get caught up, and that's really what that book was meant to do.
And I suppose when you're talking about absolutely everything you need to know about Star Wars, I mean, you're obviously going to cover everything from, let's say, the hardcore fans who are going to know who the Aurra Singhs of the galaxy are, and then you got the new fans who just want to know about Ahsoka and about Kenobi. So actually, the topic is quite broad and will do exactly what you needed to do.
It was really hard to pick what went in. Some spreads were easier than others. And some there was just too much to say, and there was never going to be space for that in the book, especially when you factored in that it did have that The Force Awakens material, and so we had to make room for all the new stuff. So that meant other things had to get cut. My easiest spread, my best spread, was actually about Asajj Ventress, and even though she's only in the Clone Wars, she had just the right amount of story to tell, and just the right amount of interesting facts. Like, that was my easiest spread. I kind of fell in love with that character while writing that spread.
She's a character that in every episode of the Clone Wars and every page of every comic, her story just twists and bends and gets more interesting, and I think she has evolved into a really big, really important character in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to write that. And get that all in one place, right? Because so many fans maybe they had heard of Asajj, maybe they had seen a few episodes, but they hadn't got the full arc. And then even going in and pulling some of the stuff from the unreleased episodes, right? The Clone Wars episodes that didn't make it to air. There's so much great story there.
How much of it did you pull from episodes and existing material, and then how much of it did you actually have to get from Lucasfilm and like stuff that maybe wasn't in TV shows? Yeah,
so we try not to make anything up. There's so much that in the universe already that you don't have to make things up. In fact, the Clone Wars is probably the biggest reason for that. When you take any character who is in that era and you're looking for more facts, more depth, you just go to the Clone Wars and you pretty much got it. But then at the time, because The Force Awakens had not come out yet. Of course, all of that was coming from Lucasfilm and very secret, of course. And so that was really the place where we were putting in really new, truly unexplored territory. Other things were just maybe a different look or a different angle on what was out there. But other things we did have to find. So they were facts, but nobody had written them down before. So, how many teeth does an Acklay have? Right? Like,
where does one find that information?
You count. You get screenshots and you count. And this book required so much of counting because we tried to put numbers, around things in every spread, and sometimes there just aren't a lot of numbers.
And did you have to go to Lucasfilm and Disney and say, we think that there's 24 teeth, can you confirm?
So all of the facts were sent to them, and Lucasfilm reviews everything in the book, of course, and yeah, if we got it wrong, they let us know.
Did you have access to, let's say, any of the CGI models or anything like that from Clone Wars?
No models, almost all photos.
Okay.
So the problem is the stills, you rarely can see both sides of his mouth, and so I was trying to figure out where the middle was, and the smile is kind of offset, so he's kind of snaggletooth, and figuring that out was difficult. That took some time.
Well, that leads me into the next one. So, Asajj is your favorite spread. What was the most difficult thing to pull together?
There were a few spreads that didn't actually end up making the final cut. I think I can reveal this. There was once a Senator spread in the early draft, and in writing that, it didn't really fit very well with the tone of the book. Like, the book is supposed to be fun and quirky, and there was nothing fun or quirky about Senators from the prequel era. There were a few examples where, Anaconda Far gets poisoned or something like that. But by and large, there weren't much. And that spread just never really worked. And when you're looking to get rid of stuff, to include Force Awakens stuff, that one was a really easy decision to make pretty early.
Yeah. So you get the call. They say, hey, we need you to work on this book. It's called Absolutely Everything. I'm going to assume, based on the kind of stuff that you're talking to me here about, that you are actually a genuine Star Wars fan. And so what happens in Cole's head when you get that call?
Well, you first feel like a fraud. Like, you don't know, if you can do it, right? Because you're sort of untested, and this is so big. And you start worrying immediately that once you get the job, can you do the job? Yeah. And you never know until you really start writing it, how easy or hard it will be. It's so hard to anticipate that. And so you do get the hang of it. A few spreads in, and you start to learn, and you get faster. But those first few, you're just not sure if you have what it takes. And you send those spreads into the editors, and you just hope you kind of got it right, and hope that there's not too much feedback, or they don't hate it, right? And you never know, are they going to hate it, are they going to love it? Turns out they seem to love it, but you're never sure.
So what kind of stuff are you working on at the moment, or can you reveal?
I don't know that I can reveal anything. There are projects in the works, and I've had a number of other projects. So I actually wrote the commemorative guide for Star Wars Celebration here. Oh, cool. So that was a fun project I've been working on the past few months. And then I'm working on Star Wars full time. My day job is actually at EA, so I work on games there, and come home and write books and do things like that. I continue to write for StarWars.com. I've worked in the past with Marvel and run Disney, so there's always some fun project going on.
For a writer who loves Star Wars, you've landed a bit of a perfect job there, haven't you?
Yeah, it's a dream. It really is. I am thankful every day. I don't know how I did this, but I'm not going to give it up.
No, absolutely. I don't think you would. Well, Cole, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and who knows, we might bump into each other again very, very soon.
Thanks for having me.
So Jason Fry, and I'm going to try not botch this, Kemp Remiller. Yep. It's like a bad guy in a Star Wars movie.
That's such a great name. I'm totally
it is, yeah.
I created it myself. What can I say?
Jason Fry's pretty cool now as well. It's not quite a Kemp Remiller now, but guys, welcome to Blabba the Hutt. Obviously, authors and illustrators of the Cross Sections book, probably one of the most interesting books you'll get on Star Wars because it's just so unusual.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, thanks.
So I suppose we'll start with saying, tell us a little bit about the process of actually figuring out what the cross section of a fictional ship is.
Right. So what really like the task is to create the suspension of disbelief, and have it be just complicated enough to capture your imagination and do the same kind of things that the movies do, which makes you believe that you're in that world for that amount of time that you're watching the movie. And so I'd want someone to look at the book and imagine the characters in the movie pulling the panels off and having all of that stuff look like the stuff that's in the movie already. So the challenge is to make the shape language match, what things that the model makers are doing, and then match all of the other previous literature. So it's half making stuff up from scratch, and then the other half is being kind of like a fictional archaeologist and figuring out what kind of things exist in Star Wars world, and what kind of stuff has been established already. More specifically, case in point is Millennium Falcon, which I probably researched more than the other ships, but there's so much stuff that's established in that already that I had to make sure that was correct. So that was the challenge, and once you can figure out what that is, then it becomes extremely fun, actually. Yeah.
So I have a question about the Millennium Falcon. Can you tell us about Leia's kitchen?
I think Jason. I'm gonna let Jason field that question.
Yeah.
This is a writer's game, isn't it?
Yeah, I can take that one. But as an intro to that, I mean, I think Kemp hit on something that's really important here, is that, continuity is a part of this, but it's really about feel. It's about making sure that things read similarly to, as you put it, the shape language that we've seen before. And, it's that panel that's never been pulled off. And when you pull it off, as a Star Wars fan, you shouldn't be surprised by what's in there. It should make sense. And, that also goes to my job as a writer, that one of the things I think that works so well in Star Wars is it's a used universe. It's a lived-in universe. And, all these objects have stories. And that's something I can do, like with what they call the leader lines and the annotations, is, suggest even more about whether it's the Millennium Falcon or Maz's castle or what have you. But, so getting to the kitchen, the Falcon's been my favorite ship forever in Star Wars, and just a place I love because it's almost like a character in its own right. And so, when we were getting our grounding for Force Awakens in our job, one of the first things we saw was there's the bunk where Chewie recuperates, and I was like, that bunk isn't there in Empire and Jedi. And at first I went into kind of this OCD crouch, just a huge Falcon fan, but then I realized, I was like, no, that's part of the story. A lot has changed in 30 years since we last saw the Falcon, the same way the Falcon changed a lot in the 30 years before that. And so that kind of freed us to tell new stories, etc. But one of the things we came to, because I've not forgotten about the kitchen, though you think I have, is it's an old joke that my friends Chris Reif and Chris Trevis and Ryder Wyndham have written a bunch of great books about the Falcon. Yeah, and I would give them a lot of trouble. I was like, "Where's the galley? Where's the galley? It has to have a galley, right?" And they'd be like, "Oh, leave me alone about the galley." But so when I did this, I think I scared poor Kemp, because I was like, "There's got to be a galley." And Kemp's like, "Whoa."
Well, seriously,
okay.
one of the first discussions we had.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, "I've always wanted one of those," and I was like, "Yeah, why isn't there a galley on that?"
So the thing I was thinking was, okay, so the Falcon spends several months limping from the NOAD system to Bespin, and it's Han and Chewie's space truck, and presumably there's nothing in it but a bunch of Carillion burritos and whatever Chewie eats, which is probably horrifying considering what he can't resist eating on Endor. And so I'm thinking about Leia in the midst of all this. She's got one suit. She's got a snowsuit. She's got to eat Carillion burritos or Wookiee chow for several months. Even with a new romance, it cannot have been that fun. Yeah. So I can imagine this was a severe point of contention by the time I got to Bespin. And so Han, when they get married, etc., one of the things I could see him doing was he was like, could I add a proper galley to the ship? The funny thing was, though, that it was weird. This became an internet thing briefly.
Oh yeah.
And I realized, I was like, whoa, somebody's reaching the wrong conclusion. And I was like, no, that's so somebody can make something for Leia, because she's really busy. It's not so she can put an apron on and make. No. And unfortunately, I think, the more sensible people were like, oh yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Then it was good.
It's funny that you talk about the new romance of Han and Leia, and spending all this time on the Falcon. Did you read in Bloodline where they have that suggestion that Ben may have been conceived on one of these long It's like, yeah, Claudia Gray went there. She did it.
It's one of the many things I love about Claudia. She's not shy about going there for a good story.
What I really want to know is how we got from cross sections to kitchens to the conception of Ben Solo. When you are doing something as technical and as intricate as the cross sections, there's obviously a lot of engineering foundation on it. Do you have people who are mad about airplanes who are saying that's not how turbines work, or that's not how aerodynamically possible? And
no, that's all me. I mean, and I'm the annoying guy that's like, that wouldn't work that way. Which you can't do 100%. I mean, this is a fantasy universe, but again, it's all about creating that suspension of disbelief. So if you work in enough believable things for the viewer to kind of latch onto, then they can imagine themselves in the thing. It just has to work just so. And so I'm doing my homework on engineering stuff. It's not just made up out of the blue. It's an impression of things that are in the real world, which is kind of a larger point. I mean, that's what Star Wars is too. I mean, it pulls so much stuff from our experience and repackages it into a fun sci-fi adventure, and that's essentially what I'm doing with modern mechanical things.
Yeah. The modern Falcon's covered with auto parts from model kits and stuff like that, and it doesn't mean there's a Porsche transmission that's highly important for the exterior of the Falcon. It's so it reads right and it looks, as you said, it looks enough for the suspension of disbelief while the ship flies overhead. Yeah.
As a writer, how different is it to approach a book like the cross sections than it would be to something like Weapon of a Jedi? Or
I think there are some commonalities there in that to a certain extent you're doing little bits of storytelling, but you're really there to support the story. You're not there to kind of create your own. So what I'll do is think about a book like Incredible Cross Sections, like what is the story we're trying to support, and how, in talking about the ships, are we doing that? So, for the Falcon, for instance, that's a really good way to talk about Han's life changing, which actually is something I did in the Eravana, in the bulk freighter. Or, with the Falcon, to talk about what has happened to this ship, what has it represented to Han, what does it represent to Ray. But at the same time, one of the fun things about it is like I said, every object has a history here. So you can use, whether it's an annotation or a little line in the text, to point at more adventures that are just enough to suggest there's something out there. And then, with Star Wars being so connected, if some future writer runs with that, that's terrific.
Yeah. It must be tough actually to leave little open doors like that to be able to.
It is, but
kind of like an expansion pack.
It is, but you kind of get the feel for it. And actually, Dan Wallace taught me a lot about this. You say just enough to make it feel real, to give it some specificity, but then leave it open so that somebody else can run something with it. And the other part of it is learning what not to do. Yeah. Is not doing something absolute that's going to close something down for someone in the future.
Especially in Star Wars, is the one thing you can't do. What does a workflow between you guys work like? This is a total nerd because I'm a.
Jason and I had several face-to-face meetings, and we're always in touch online. But I would kind of work up. Well, I worked up the angles and stuff with the editors Owen and David first, and then kind of roughed everything in, and I put a real rough pass of labels and stuff in, and then we had more discussions about what we should put in, and I would amend things based on Jason's suggestions. It was real back and forth collaborative effort.
I think the most important thing to me was that it was a fluid back and forth. It wasn't so beyond what production demanded. It wasn't rigid like that. And some of the most fruitful times for us was just when I would be out there sitting in Kemp's office, shoulder to shoulder, and just kicking around ideas. That was a really fast way of working.
That's what I was going to say. If you're both fans, it must be really interesting to collaboratively work on something that is tangible and physical at the end of it all.
It makes all the difference in the world. I mean, I've worked on plenty of projects over the years and been of varying degrees of enthusiasm about them. Yeah. And that's
where does this sit?
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing. It's like we both genuinely like.
Might wait for that
Okay.
So I always like to ask artists, like, do you prefer like a digital medium or like a hand-drawn physical?
It's all digital for me. Yeah, I have so much respect for Hans Jensen and Richard Chasemore for doing all of that stuff by hand. It's I wonder if that's going to become a lost art at some point, because that would be tremendously hard for me to do. I really need the editability of the digital platform now, and just in terms of the volume of the work, it probably would not have been conceivable for me to do on my own in the time period that I had. But it's a result of the times. I paint everything in Photoshop. I use 3D. I use photo textures. I scan like model parts and use those. The textured brushes and stuff. That's my workflow. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, well, guys, we are at the end of day 2, and we're literally, I'd say, the security are going to come around, take us out, turn off the lights. Thank you so much for talking to us, and best of luck with everything in the future, and no doubt there's a lot more, hopefully more collaborative work actually between you.
We're not done yet as a power team.
Yeah, thanks so much for letting us chat about what we do. We love it. We love sharing it with you.
Anytime,
cheers.
absolutely anytime.
All right, so Star Wars Celebration Europe, that was in July. Fast forward about 3 months into October, early November, back in Arizona, and I had a few cons to go to. So, of course, Phoenix Comic-Con Fan Fest and Tucson Comic-Con. And I was able to get media coverage for both of them, which was awesome. So I had a lot of fun covering them. And I think my highlight for Phoenix was chatting with artist John Tyler Christopher. He's the one that's famous for the Marvel Star Wars comic variants with the Kenner toys for the cover. So I'm a big fan of those, and I was super excited to talk to him. So I'm going to go ahead and play that interview for you. And then I'll go ahead and play some of the clips I got from Tucson Comic-Con, just chatting with some of the Star Wars fans there. All right, I'm here at Phoenix Comic-Con, and I'm sitting here with artist John Tyler Christopher. How's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. I do the action figure variant covers, which has led me to do a lot of work for Marvel with Star Wars, which is just like the coolest thing ever. It's really surreal because the action figures themselves were like a very integral part of my childhood. I mean, those were my toys growing up. So to have been asked now to like recreate or pay homage to them is like just it. Not only is it super fun, but it's also like it's like a responsibility and an honor to be a part, like to be able to impart that, it's when it's a responsibility, I guess is maybe the best way to put it, like, because it's not just since I've been doing these, the more I've discovered that it's not just my childhood that these meant something to somebody, but a lot, that means to a lot of people.
They've been immensely popular, like every comic book shop I go into, so that's crazy.
It's very humbling. It's super amazing. It's weird. Like, I grew up on a farm. I grew up, baling hay and milking cows and all that kind of fun stuff. And to be in a position now, again, like I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I get to draw Star Wars today? This is so surreal, and it's just mind-blowing, and I'm so grateful for everyone that enjoys them, because it is, like, it's the coolest thing I've ever had the opportunity to work on, and it's just amazing.
So, like, with the action figure variants, did it start with the Star Wars ones, or had you done other ones before that?
Yeah, no, it started with the Star Wars ones. It's kind of actually a funny story. So, I was doing just the normal cover work, and I was drowning, like period point blank. I was being a terrible husband, a terrible father. I didn't have time, for anything. I was working 100 to 120 hours a week. And my wife and my mom actually got together, and they're like, had a talk with me. They're like, it literally was. Like, they're like, you have to stop taking so much work on. Like, you need to cut down on this. And so I was like, all right, I can do this. 2 days later, I get a call from Marvel, and they're like, so, we got this idea we want you to do. And I'm like, I can't do it. And he's like, there's Star Wars action figures. And I'm like, son of a gun. Like, so I literally did Han, Luke, Leia, and Vader. After my wife fell asleep, I would sneak out and actually draw them at night and paint them. And so it was funny because, like, I was literally stressing, telling her that I'd started doing these. And but what's fortunate is because they were so successful and people seem to dig them, and the work, being able to do them because of the more templatized structure. And one of my big weaknesses as an artist is action and composition, like dynamic composition and stuff like that. But I feel one of my strengths is character, and I love being able to, like, capture a person or who they are or little nuances, and these figures allow me to do that. So I've literally been able to cut my workload in half, my hours, but actually produce more work. So I'm literally able to work less hours but generate more money. So it's like it's been an absolute blessing for my family, and that's why I'm just honored to be a part of it.
So what's the process for the action figure ones? Like, do you have a certain process that you go through?
Yeah, well, I mean, it usually starts. One of the other crazy things was before I started doing the action figures, I might not know what I'm doing in 2 weeks later, let alone a month later. With these, I know what I'm doing in January right now, which is an amazing thing to know. Like, all right, we're through January, we're good. Everything's hunky-dory because I'm a freelance artist. So I know who's coming up next. I get the character, and what's great about the Star Wars ones is because it's the way I look at it, I don't draw the action figure. I draw what my 5-year-old self thought the action figure looked like. So it is much more of an homage than trying to actually articulate and render the figure.
So they're based on, like, the Kenner ones.
Oh, of course, yeah, the original 77, yeah. And so, like, when I looked at it, in fact, one of the big dramas I struggled with in my head was, what color is Luke's hair? It's like a dirty brown if you look at it or dirty blonde in the movies, but the action figure has this, like, neon yellow hair. And I'm like, holy crap, as a Star Wars fan, would I be more upset if I lie about the figure or lie about the movie? And I literally asked my 5-year-old self, I'm like, 5-year-old John, what do you think would be cool? And he was like, oh, it's got to be, I used to think it was so funny. It's like neon yellow hair. It's a joke, it was a joke. Right. And people seem to really appreciate that. And since then, it's really given me a nice lead-in of everything of, like, I always thought Chewbacca was really silly looking because he has this, like, surprised look on his face. So when I drew Chewbacca, it's like silly, surprised Wookiee face, and all those little nuances that I'm a fan first. Like, before, again, this is my childhood. Anyone that's ever picked up or bought any of the exclusive covers from my website, if they look on the back cover, there's a Boba Fett action figure on it. And that is literally my Boba Fett action figure I played with as a kid. When I landed the gig and my mom forgave me for taking on more work and everything was hunky-dory, she literally pulled out all of my action figures that she'd stored in the attic. So whenever I get a new character, I pull them out, I set them on my drawing table, and I'm like, I am literally looking at Chewbacca when I draw him. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So, like, the last one I picked up was the Dr. Afra one. So, like, how did you take on a character like that who is a new character?
Yeah, well, that was such a surreal experience because when they approached me about doing the final issues of Vader and effectively retro designing these characters, I did have to put myself in where would Kenner draw the line on certain things, because there are certain elements that would either be omitted or modified, like for a character like Silo, right? He wears this, like, jacket. In the design they wanted me to do, he wore a jacket, but none of the characters had, like, a long petticoat style jacket. And so I retro designed it, including a shorter version of the vinyl cape but with the collar folded up, because he had a high collar on that jacket too, similar to like what basically Leia would have had on her Bespin outfit. And things like that. So like Aphra, you know, I mean, if I would argue if there's been any breakout character of Star Wars since with the Marvel books, it's been Dr. Aphra. She is huge. And so even to be able to work on her, that was kind of like almost the crown jewel of like, all right, we're going to get these other guys out because eventually we're going to knock out Dr. Aphra. And now that they've announced the new book, the new series with her, it's going to be awesome. I mean, I really think she's going to be the big character.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be awesome.
I would not be shocked if we don't see a real life Dr. Aphra action figure at some point.
I would love to see actually like a Netflix series, like a real.
Oh my gosh, how rad would that be? Yeah, I mean, well, and it's not just Dr. Aphra, because like you got BT1 and 000, and they're amazing too.
You haven't
like,
done them yet, right?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did do them?
Yeah, they're part of that Vader series at the end of the Vaders. Yeah, I did Silo, Talon, Inspector Thanath, BT1, and 000,
Awesome.
and then Dr. Aphra. And that's even transitioning further. Right? Like I think it was. There's always like we've been trying to feel out what works and what doesn't work, and so far the response has been mostly positive. It seems that people like even those ones that aren't really figures, people seem to groove on, which has made me really, really happy. You know.
Do you have any in store that you can tell us about?
Unfortunately, I can't because I don't know what has been announced, and I don't want to. You know, it's kind of this like guarded secret. It is weird because there are. Sometimes with the character choices, there are just somewhat like we're going in order. Yeah. But there are certain ones that are story specific. Yeah. And that's why like.
Have you done a BB-8 yet?
I've not done a BB-8. Okay. When I did my Kylo Ren, that was one of the options I was considering. Was like I was like, man, I'd love to do a BB-8.
That'd be awesome.
It was either I wanted to do BB-8 Rey or Kylo, and at the end it was like I think Kylo's I'm gonna.
Yeah,
I love the bad guys, you know, so.
Just taking a step back, I guess, when did you first realize you wanted to be an artist? Was it something you wanted to be since you were a kid?
I literally don't remember a time. I never wanted to play in the Super Bowl. I never wanted to be an actor. I always wanted to be an artist. I mean, I literally have, my mom kept books that I would create. Or, so cool. I mean, I literally have Star Wars drawings from when I was 3 years old. Growing up in a small town, it was difficult. I mean, even to this day, when people ask me what I do, and I'm like, oh, I'm a comic book artist.
I'm from North Dakota, so
okay, you know how this works, right? Yeah, so it's like I work for Star Wars and Marvel, or I draw Star Wars for Marvel and so on and so forth, and I still will get, no, but what's your job?
Yeah.
And so it's, and I faced a lot of that adversity growing up, and to the point where it's like, I mean, I literally went to a normal university and studied normal stuff. And, but eventually, you know, I made the call of like, let's just jump off this cliff and try this art thing. And it's, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I wouldn't change a thing. I would probably not take as many deadlines, but this is all I ever wanted to do. I am in heaven right now with doing this.
So where do you think the future of Star Wars is headed?
You know, I think that it's in really good hands. And I think that there's a degree of excitement I have with Star Wars diversifying what they are. I'm beyond excited about Rogue One, right? And when you look at Rogue One, there's a tonal shift in what Rogue One represents. Similar to, I think, if you look at the Clone Wars or with what Rebels has done. I love the idea that the universe is getting bigger. And also, again, like, it's getting darker, but it's also getting lighter. It's getting a broader sense of who the of characters, and that to me is what Star Wars has always been about, right? Like Star Wars, more than any other franchise, took 3 movies and built every single person that watched those 3 movies, basically almost, built their own universe, right? Like The Force Awakens, I'm willing to bet, was probably written 20 years ago by a young J.J. Abrams sitting on his kitchen floor, talking about how cool, well, the Falcon flies up and then as it drops, like the gun's stuck and it shoots, like all of these little nuances. Everyone has those stories, right? Like Boba Fett. This guy is in, 6 minutes of a movie and has 2 lines?
Right.
Boba Fett's popularity is because every little kid was like, he looks cool, put them on their floor, and he's the guy that was kicking butt, taking names. So to see that Star Wars is now branching out with a lot of those, probably, again, stories that were written by children at a young age that are now growing up and making movies and TV shows, you're seeing that diversification of, we're going to go dark, we're going to go into cartoons. I mean, you know, I'm hoping to see some really cool video games come out of it. Like, the sky's the limit, and I think that the expanded universe, however, was awesome. I love a lot of that, like Mara Jade. I mean, you name any of those. But it's so awesome to see characters starting to creep in from the expanded universe into...
Become canon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's neat.
I think we're going to see like a predominance of those just become a more fleshed out universe, but that's only going to reinforce more imagination and creativity on the side of the fans to explore and expand what they're doing.
Awesome. All right, well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Do you want to just tell people how they can find you online and all that stuff?
Yeah, no, I mean, if you just Google John Tyler Christopher, I'm all over the interweb. But no, my website is johntylerchristopher.com. You can follow me on Facebook at John Tyler Christopher, and on Twitter at John Tyler Chris. If you keep in touch with me, I do, when I ever do the exclusive announcements, I'll announce them on Facebook and Twitter to let people know. So, you know, there's that.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for talking to Blabba the Hutt.
My pleasure. Thank you. May the force be with you.
Say hey, guys.
Hey.
Hi. How are you guys doing?
Very well.
Enjoying the con?
Oh, for sure.
Awesome.
Art is awesome here.
I know there's a lot of art. I actually just got here. I'm from Phoenix, but
oh wow.
Yeah. So, are you guys excited for Rogue One?
I am very excited for Rogue One.
He is
yes.
beyond excited.
I'm a huge nerd. I love anything Star Wars. It's not all good, but I think this will be awesome.
What are you most excited about?
Well, I really want to see that story of how they got the plans, and more visuals I see on it. I'm like taken back to 1977 when I was 6 years old. So.
Awesome. That's cool. Is there anything that you're like afraid of that might happen?
I'm always a little nervous that the next Star Wars movie is going to suck, but I think it's in good hands.
Yeah.
I think Gareth Edwards did a good job with Godzilla, so I think he's going to do a good job with this.
Very cool. Awesome. So, episode 8 is like just a little over a year away now. Do you have any theories about episode 8? Like who's Rey's parents, who's Snoke?
I'm still, Rey's parents have got to be somehow connected to the Skywalkers.
I hope so.
I think so too.
I don't see how, if it's the episodes are Skywalker stories, that she being the star can't be a Skywalker of some sort. I don't know what it is. Snoke, I think he's Snoke. I don't think he's. I think maybe there's a backstory that connects to everybody else, but I don't know. I don't know what that is, and I'm excited to see it. He of course had parents. Maybe he's the reason Anakin was born through midichlorians. Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see, huh?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks for talking,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Hey, guys, how's it going?
Good.
Very good.
All right, so I got a Tardis Stormtrooper here, and the TARDIS exploding. Your dress is awesome.
Thank you.
So, tell me about the TARDIS Stormtrooper. How did you go about making that?
Well, I'm already a member of the 501st, and so I've gotten experience in putting the armor together, but I love Doctor Who and Star Wars both. You know, and so I had to mash them up. I had to do something unique.
Yes.
And so got the armor pieces, formed them out,
Very
fitted
cool.
them, painted, whole 9 yards.
Nice. But yeah, so and then you just added all the little decals
Yep.
and the TARDIS light and everything.
Yeah,
and
the fun
he
thing is
also...
I'm bigger on the inside.
Let me get. I'll have to get
Oh,
a
wait.
picture. Is that your, oh, it's your
Don't
phone.
blink.
Very awesome.
It's not just a TARDIS sound, I forgot.
That's good job. So, who's your favorite Doctor?
Gotta wait for it to finish.
Who's your favorite Doctor?
Honestly, I'm a Baker fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Helen Baker.
I mean, come on. Outside of that, I love Tennant, but
Tennant was
Smith
amazing.
kind of grew on me a little bit, I have to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're kind of all just awesome, really.
Are you guys excited for Rogue One coming out?
Oh my
Oh,
goodness,
God,
yes.
Yeah.
Very
Absolutely.
excited.
That seems to be the consensus. Like everybody is like super excited about it. What are you guys most excited about for Rogue One?
I'm really excited that they're showing more of the rebellion.
I'm excited about the additional costuming.
Yeah. Are you
I
gonna
gotta
be
say,
like a shore trooper or anything like that?
I already do a Nova Trooper, and I really want to do a Death Trooper now, and Director Krennic. So.
What's like your worst fear about Rogue One?
Oh god, that it's going to be
But it's gonna
a
mess up the
horrible
storyline.
prequel.
Yeah.
What? A horrible prequel in the Star Wars universe? No way.
No, those don't happen. Horrible Star Wars movies don't exist. There is no holiday special, damn it.
Oh man. I tried watching that once. I couldn't make it like 5 minutes. I was like laughing too hard.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
painful.
Yeah, it's painful to watch.
man.
I have yet to sit through the whole thing.
I'm afraid it's gonna be really sad. Like everyone's gonna die, basically.
It probably will be sad.
Yeah, probably.
I was like, it would suck if they all ended up like they successfully did the mission, and they're like, okay, we'll meet you on Alderaan.
Oh.
Sorry. Ewoks. There.
Ewoks. There.
All right. Well, thanks for talking, guys.
No
Thank
problem.
you. All right. I'm here with Queen Amidala. How's it going?
It's going fabulous.
What's your name?
My name is Tonya Antilla.
Nice to meet you.
Good.
So, I mean, this is an amazing Amidala cosplay.
Thank you.
So, do you have any other Amidala costumes?
I do. I have the Black Escape from Naboo costume, and I also do 2 other characters for the Rebel Legion Club.
Nice.
Yes.
So, is this part of the Rebel Legion?
It
this
is.
one? That's
It
amazing.
is.
First of all, let's describe which costume it is. I don't think we did that.
This is the Senate gown with the hair horns, where she had appeared before the Senate to beg for her or plead for her country.
Right. What
It's-
was kind of the process of making it?
The silk is from India, and it's all hand beaded with glass beads.
That's crazy.
And the velvet gown. I wrapped cord in silk for all the detail.
Wow.
And this did win big in San Diego Comic Con this past summer. It won Best in Show
That's
and the
amazing.
Motion Picture Costumers Award.
Whoa, that's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so cool. I know, it's like, the detail is amazing.
Thank you.
So cool. But
Took
yeah.
about 6 months to make.
Oh, wow.
And most of it's hand sewn.
Whoa, that's crazy. So, are there any other costumes, like, with the new movies coming out that you're interested in making?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think Rogue One has some amazing costumes
Yeah.
coming out.
Definitely.
So that I'm looking forward to.
So I'm noticing your little Ewok thing over there.
Yes, my Ewok jacket.
Nice.
That one's sold, but we
man.
are taking orders for new
That's
ones.
so cool. So what are some of the other products that you have over here?
We have cosplay photos, some paintings that I've done, and the masks. I make the Revan masks. So the Revan masks are up here.
Cool.
And they're made for smaller adults and for women and for children, because most of the ones you find online are for men. You know, so for those of us who are smaller, we want to play the character.
Nice. Is that a Shakti?
That is Shakti, and she'll be on 1 o'clock today.
All right, so how can people find out more about you? And
I'm on Facebook, Tonya Antilla Cosplay on Facebook, and that'll lead you to my websites.
All right, well, thanks for talking.
Cut the channel, Red 2.
Okay, wow, that ended up being a lot of interviews in the last hour. Thanks for sticking to the end, everybody, and I hope you've enjoyed it. So here at Blabba, we counted up that in 2016 we were able to cover 6 different cons. So that's pretty awesome, especially given the nature of our podcast, how it's global. And so from Phoenix to Dublin to London to Tucson to Belfast, we have had an awesome time just covering the cons. So be sure to stick with Blabba to see what cons we'll be covering in the next year and beyond. So that's going to pretty much do it for this episode. Rogue One is just around the corner, so you can be sure that Team Blabba will have lots to say about Rogue One. I'm currently right in the middle of Catalyst and loving it, so I know I'm going to be wanting to talk about that. Be sure to watch this space. We will definitely have more coming down the line soon. So for Team Blabba, this is BB Kate signing off. I will catch you guys next time.